And here's my latest stadium. It was a spur of the moment, but it's one I was wanting to do from the beginning. I tried it before and didn't know if I'd be able to pull it off or not. And as I've learned some new tricks to creating these stadiums, um, it didn't seem so hard. And as you can see, I started off with, the lower bowl in this stadium is a big one, and I was going to use what I had selected there first, and I was just like, it just doesn't look right. It's like the seating is just kind of like too flat. Like, I like those sections because they look realistic. They have the aisles and whatnot, but they just look a little too flat. And I really started liking these. I think they're the upper deck seating or something, and they blend together pretty good. The one drawback to these is there's really no aisles. I probably could have used the other upper deck seating that has the aisles, but I just went along with this one because of I don't know. It was just the first one I had picked, and so I went with it. But this is the Pontiac Silverdome that I'm going for. Of course, you can't build a dome on here, so that's the first drawback to this place. And with the kind of wonky field dimensions that you're limited to, that didn't really help any. But I think I nailed it pretty good on here. And it didn't take very long to make this thing. It was probably a little over an hour to make it, and I knew from when I was making it, I wanted to make a couple different versions of it that I always had in my head, like what the Silverdome has since been demolished, and it was left to decay for a couple years. And like, I'd been there many times to watch football, and I just thought, like, what if the Tigers had moved into that place, or what if they played baseball there? As you see in a lot of football stadiums that were never designed for baseball, but pro teams happen to play there regardless for whatever reason. Like in Los Angeles Coliseum, Mile High Stadium, to name a few. There's other ones, but I had wondered what it would be like had they updated this stadium, or if they took the roof off the place and made it into an outdoor stadium. And it's kind of what I went with here. I did what I could do to make it into as close to the real Silverdome as possible, with the dome and everything. So I make the first version as close to having the dome as possible. I had to add a bunch of scoreboards to the top and a bunch of buildings to the top to make it look like the Silverdome roof. You see all that later, and I'll talk more about that when it comes. But so right here, I'm just blending pieces together. I'm adding the upper deck pieces and basically on top of each other, and right here I'm just blending them in to make those the corner sections for the lower bowl at the Silverdome. And blending these together, you don't really notice it from a far away view. But, if you want to go in and look with the camera during the game or something, you might see some imperfections. But, until they make it to where you can scale the size of these seating sections, this is probably the best way of doing it. And you can see I added a bunch of extra seats. Like when I was just adding the 4 different sections, I just, I made sure I went far enough in case I needed to have a little spot filled in. So that's why you see that the extra seats are there. And I deleted some of them later on. You can see right here I just go further than I need to, but it's just to make sure I fill in whatever gaps. And you can see it's not all lined up perfectly. I mean, it's probably a little slanted down there. They're along the right field line and left field line for the seats and everything. Like, it would almost be nice on here if they gave you the ability to make a blueprint kind of design for your stadium, like, where you want the seats to be. Or if they just let you drew your seating chart up the way you wanted it, rather than having to lay all these pieces on top of each other and blend them together to make something. And of course, if I was making some random stadium, some design I came up with, you wouldn't really need to do all this blending stuff and meshing stuff together. You don't see that with the people that are making custom stadiums, but for these trying to recreate a classic stadium, and when you just want to make it look like the real thing, it's a lot of this blending and meshing going on. Might not make for the most best looking stadium, but it's about the only way you can make it as close to the real thing as possible. Once this is finished, you can really see what I mean about the lack of aisles and whatnot. And I don't like the way that it looks without the aisleways, and I don't know why they give you these sections of seats without an aisleway in all of them. It just makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, this section here, all it needs is like half a aisleway of steps at each end of it to make it look right. Or at least have the same seating section with an aisle of seats. But, I do what I can to make it work anyway. And I think it's funny how you can add this many seats to the place. And I'm way over the 60,000 limit. I mean, it's a stadium that holds about 87,000 people. But the fact that you can go this far over the seating capacity and keep on adding seats, and it's like, you can see the limits at like 50%, maybe 45%. And but if I went and added a bunch of chain link fence, you know, it would probably shoot up to 75% after just adding a few of them or whatever, which is weird. I don't know why that takes up so much data on here compared to seats that have, you know, the people in them or the individual seats or whatever. And this here's another issue. I really wish you could mark off seats where you could select what seats you want to have closed or tarped off or whatever. I've said that in many videos. They need to have it to where you can tarp off seats, or at least have a section of seats where they're just not open, kind of like the way the Florida Marlins used to have it in their stadium, Pro Player Stadium or whatever. I forget what it was called, where the Miami Dolphins play. How the upper deck in the outfield was pretty much always tarped off or closed, and the only outfield seats that were open were the part in the lower bowl. And there you can see it's basically a lot like what the Silverdome would have looked like without a roof, or if they played baseball there. It's kind of the exact same concept. And that's basically what I was going for here. And here I'm adding the scoreboards that I got flipped around to give that kind of black wall that they had for around the upper deck in the Silverdome, where basically the video screens and some of the large signs were at. And then I was just adding the roof part there to give it give it a little bit of a look of that Silverdome roof. And the funny part here is I totally screwed up with it. I meant to add kind of like the lower bowl, how I got the seats merged together on top of each other. I meant to do the same thing here with the upper deck, because the Silverdome has a very large upper deck, just like the lower bowl is. And here I put all the scoreboards there for the black part, and then the roof, I added all of them, and I ended up having to go and move all of them and move all of the roof parts I added, just so I could add those seats. And it added quite a bit of time to this, and I was close to just I'm just giving up on this and leave it the way it was. And then I added these buildings to it on top of it, and I still had to move all of them as well, and it must have been like probably 75 to 100 pieces I added here all together that I had to move, just so I could add another part of the seats to make it look how I wanted it. But here I'm adding the buildings to basically when you're like in home run derby or something like that, it gives you that angle where you would see the roof, and I basically added them so that if you see that part, it looks kind of like that silver gray roof of the Silverdome. And then here I was just playing around with, I really wanted to add some sections of the seats that had the aisleway, and the only ones I found that were good were kind of at an angle, and I decided not to go with them, and I filled these back in with the seats I had there originally. And here was the home run derby with the first version of the stadium completed. And you can see when I hit some home runs that that roof part shows up. You can see the buildings up there, and it kind of gives that you have to have a little imagination, I guess. But the one thing I don't like, the lack of aisles between the seats there, especially in that lower bowl, and the different sections of the upper deck with the random sections of people. I really don't like that either. Whereas they should all just be seated behind home plate and down the right field and left field line. And you can see there in left field I put a building in there to give it that look of, it's not a luxury box, but it's a sports bar that they had in the Silverdome, which was in one of the end zones opposite of the tunnel. So that's what you're looking at there in left field. And this is where I'm basically deleting everything and moving stuff. No, actually, this is where I'm deleting what I added, so I can give it the outdoor look. This would be the second version of the Silverdome I did. And I have all three versions are uploaded, so you can download all three of them or one of them, whichever one you want to try and play. And the second and third version here, it's kind of configured the same way, but I took out part of the seats that would be in right field and some of center field, and I'm giving it that look of the Metrodome. The way you can see the seats are all pushed back and everything. I don't know why they don't give you those some kind of seats that are like that on here, but maybe they can do it in the future. And then I was just adding another scoreboard in there to give it a little bit of a dimension to it, a little, just to make it look like they are seats that are all folded up and everything. And it has this same look for version 2 and 3 of the stadium. And I made the wall a little bit higher, and I moved it back so it is a little bit easier to hit home runs in the regular one I made, just because the fence is in. And I did raise the elevation pretty high. It's around 4,000 or something here, so home runs are really easy. And in right field, you can hit. I hit a couple home runs in the press box area, or the middle deck, the luxury box area. I haven't hit any in the upper deck yet, but I think the upper deck's a little too far away. And this was more for version 2. It was just, hey, what if they took the roof off the Silverdome and, made it for baseball? What might they do? I was just having a little fun with it here. And this is like a little Tiger Stadium thing. I added a pole there in center field, just like the one that's in Tiger Stadium. I don't have much video of the changes I made for version 3 of this, but I took out some of the upper deck seats in left field and center field to make it just look like a little bit of a smaller ballpark. And I think I moved the scoreboard to center field. But all 3 versions are available to download. You can look up my profile, just search my name, and you'll find them. Either way, I hope you have fun with this stadium. It was fun to make. It's one I would definitely like to revisit and improve if they can ever add more features to the game. But leave a like and leave a comment. Let me know what stadiums you'd like to see me work on, and hopefully I can build upon this one.